Hey guys, welcome back. In this episode, I'm going to show you how I took the dents out of a car roof that had a barn fall on it, talk about the kid that bought a Comet then went off to fight a war, and how I became the second registered owner of a car that had been completely forgotten. So how did I end up being the second owner of this car? Well, for the answer to that, we have to go way back to 1964 and a kid named Leon Lacombe Jr. In the process of getting the Comet transferred into my name, I had to do a little research. And unlike any of the dozens or so cars I've purchased over the years, this one had a very unique story. Leon Lacombe Jr. was born and raised in Chambersburg, Pennsylvania. And like many teens, he probably had an idea what kind of car he wanted and had brochures to look at. After working in a local pizzeria and saving up all his money, he went to the dealership and bought himself a brand new 1964 Comet Caliente. Before finishing high school, he enlisted in the military, went off to fight a war in Vietnam, earned the Bronze Star, and then came home. Leon went back to high school, got his degree, and then got a job at a local foundry. I was able to talk to one of Leon's surviving nieces, and she described him as the most honest and hardworking person she ever knew. She described how he was always there for his nieces and was very active in his community. Leon was also big in car shows, and over the years he bought and sold many cars. All except this one. A car so special to him that he could never part with it and ended up keeping it for the rest of his life. Somewhere in the car's history, the engine and transmission were pulled out and it was put into storage. And from there, things only got worse for the Comet. According to his niece, while the Comet was in storage, there was a fire in a barn and portions of the roof landed on top of the car. But even though the car sustained serious damage, Leon refused to part with it, planning to restore it someday. This unfortunately was never to occur, as Leon passed in 2016. Don't worry, buddy, we got you. Since that time, the car changed hands twice, but neither of those two held onto it for very long, and that's how it ended up in my hands. Now, this car hadn't been registered in over 50 years, and unfortunately, somewhere along the way, the title was lost. So after reaching out to anyone who might have a legal claim to the car, appearing in court, and then getting a court order, I was able to get the car legally transferred into my name. Now, if you watched the first two videos on this project, you know we've stripped the car down and we built an engine for it. Now it's time to start the bodywork. So I thought I should start on the left rear quarter panel and try to figure out how to get these wrinkles out. So using an old 4x4, I cut out the shape I wanted to make a wood buck. Now I don't have any real bodywork experience, but it seemed to me the easiest way to work on this would be to make something that would act as a solid surface to put behind the panel as I worked it with a body hammer. Okay, I'm a little far away, but what I want to do is I want to make that other side look like this one, which is pretty straight. But looking at this one, over here, Oh, how do you like that? Just putting that block in there really changed things. I need to bring this up a bit. But not much, just a little bit up in here. So I think I'm going to do is I'm going to move my jack down to where it's under this, and I'm going to probably just lightly tap on that while adding pressure. See how that works. Adding pressure all the way along here like this really helps to keep it straight. No idea what I'm doing, but so far this seems to be working. So this is really pushed in here. So as I suspected, you can see where the buck made contact pretty much everywhere except for this spot, which is right here. Okay, I shortened my buck. It should follow the lines of the car really well. I also rounded over the edges so as it's pushing up, it doesn't leave sharp edges where it pushes against the metal. So let's try this and see how this works. Look at that. Nice. I'll be goddamn. I'll be goddamn. Look at that. I'm getting ready for some Bondo. Not really, but for me, that's a win. Earlier, you saw me rolling the car on a rotisserie into a trailer, driving it around the other side of the shop, and unloading it. So at the risk of making you guys wait a few more weeks for a video, I decided to take a section of the wall out. Purple! So now I finally have a way to move the rotisserie in and out of the shop from my wood shop side to my car shop side. What is that doing up there? So I'm trying something I've never used before, which is a shrinking wheel. And what it does is it heats the metal up, and if you cool it quickly with water, it brings it together so any of the dents kind of pull back out. This area is still a little loose, a little thin. See if I can shrink that up a little bit. Now, for those of you who know how to do this, you're probably thinking, why didn't you take the paint off first? And you would be right. That's what I should have done. You'll also probably notice one of the problems from taking a hit like this thing did on the roof is it made the metal real thin from stretching it out, so we get a lot of this oil canning. I also found out this is not a fast process. This takes a great deal of time. I probably put in about 40 hours on the roof alone, and it still wasn't where I wanted it to be. But it was a heck of a lot better than where it was. I'm slowly getting somewhere with this. This is the part that I'm trying to repair. It's getting better. I'm gonna try to make it as smooth as I can with the limited skill sets and experience that I have. So the damage ran down in a line like this. I'm sure something landed on it there. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to pull in from the sides with heat into the center to try to thicken up the metal where it got thin from the dent. We're still getting that oil canning.
Did you say something? He said oil can.
Oil can what?
But the metal actually feels a little thicker in places where it didn't before. Like here, it would stay in. Now it comes out. So I think I'm heading the right direction. Just got to keep working it. But there's also a point of where I'm not sure if I'm making things worse by taking the natural curve out of the roof by pulling it in and making it flat. So this is where my inexperience really starts to concern me. But some of it actually came out feeling a little better, like up here and down here and just recently over there. So I might be on the right track. I don't know, maybe it's not a good idea to do all this while standing in a puddle of water. I think I've figured this out. When I heat it up, the metal does seem to get a lot stiffer. I heat it up and cool it down, it gets a lot stiffer. But when I can, well, no, when I can actually do that with my finger, that's the area that I'm going to apply the heat and try to draw that metal in so it gets a little bit stiffer. So I'm feeling from inside and outside, popping it in and out, and then pushing it out. And that seems to be, I don't know, I mean, that seems to be the ticket. It's finding where you can roll it with your finger like that, where it's thin. Yeah, if I can do that with my finger. That area is too thin, so I'm going to try to heat that and bring it out. In addition to the shrinking disc, I also used a piece of 3/8 thick fiberboard, which is kind of flexible, and then a mallet to try to beat the shape I needed from the inside. The big problem is underneath this center support. It's the only one in the roof, and that's where the biggest dip is, and I really can't get anything in behind it. I can't beat on it. I've shrunk down the metal as much as I can to where it feels like it's thick again. And I think what I may have to do is put in a temporary support and then take this one out so that I can get at the whole area underneath here, and then weld it back in with whatever padding it had on top, because there's something there, a piece of almost like fiberboard. But yeah, I'm at a crossroads now. This is where I need to get into the center of the roof, and I just can't get at it with this thing in the way. So my whole thought on doing this way was to not use that much Bondo, that much filler. And I've gotten to where I've got up to 1/8 of an inch, and that to me is too much. Here in the center, it's closer to 1/4 of an inch. That's the area where that support is that I can't get around. But generally, we're looking at about a 1/16 of an inch. Oh, here's a big one right here. That's pretty big too. So I think I'm going to take that center support out, and then I'm going to try to beat this metal back into the shape I want. And then again, as I said, go over the entire thing with the shrinking wheel to kind of bring it all together and get all the little bumps and waves out, and then go ahead and put some filler on it. By using a shrinking disc, I was able to take a lot of the waves and dents out of this roof. But there's more to do. In the next video on the Comet, we're going to finish up the roof by taking out the support, heat shrinking the rest of it, and hopefully putting some filler in, smoothing it out to make it look like it should. So that's as far as we're going to go today with the Comet roof. I do have a trick with a torch that I want to try, but before we do that, there's something I've been putting off for over 3 years that I really need to get to. And what I ended up finding was both good and bad. So until next time, thanks for watching.